Jai Shri Ram. Today, the 13th day of Ramayana Masam. With all the challenges, we continue to narrate this holy epic Ramayana for our people, for our new generation who should understand the story and the meaning behind this great epic. So, yesterday we saw how Ravana forced Maricha to help him out in getting Sita kidnapped. The plan was hatched and they were ready to implement it. Let's hear it out. Maricha was perplexed. He saw into the hollowness of this dangerous scheme. Still, he picked up courage and put it to Ravana. O king, I am sorry for the mishap you have met with, but I should neither flatter nor misguide you. I present the bare truth to you. Rama is the embodiment of valor and rightness. Of his own accord, he has come into the forest in order to save his father from the guilt of falsehood. By courting his enmity, you are paving the way for your own destruction and that of your people. It seems as Sita is born to bring about your ruin. How dare you cast longing eyes on Sita? She will never yield to you. You will be burnt into ashes if you violate her chastity. If you are opposed to Rama, fight with him openly. Do not pursue a fraudulent path and invite me to be a party to it. Death trap as it were. Now Ramna spoke in authority. I have not come here this time seeking your advice. The unalterable decision is already made. It is below my dignity to enter into a duel with, with that idiot deceived, dethroned, and driven out by a woman. I am to disgrace him by stealing away his wife. Now, as your king, I order to transform yourself into a pretty deer and delude Rama. I will kill you if you fail to play your role well. Maricha was found between dharma and adharma. His king was forcing him to do adharma. Maricha reflected with himself, I am doomed to be killed by Ravana or Rama. Better that I perish, pierced by Rama's soul-dimming arrow. Maricha agreed to act as directed. His consent pleased Ravana immensely. Now both of them made their way in the flying chariot to the outskirts of Rama's hermitage, a charming spot on earth. Herds of deer used to graze around about Rama's ashrama. One morning, an exquisitely beautiful deer made its appearance in that locality. The wont animal smelled it and kept it at a safe distance. The new creature was displaying itself in numerous ways. Sita, who was in the garden plucking flowers, took notice of the strangely attractive animal. She called out to Rama to come and see it. Both of them were beside themselves with joy seeing a new deer, so charmingly beautiful. Its nibbling the grass and tender leaves, its gambols and frisks, its graceful gaze and tender innocence, its multicolor and choice lustrous spot, all this put together captivated the hermit couple. The thought of possessing the animal crept into the heart. Sita, in particular, was bent on owning it. The composed Lakshmana could see into his phenomena in its true perspective. Brother, it is Maricha playing the trick, bawled out he from a distance. But the husband and wife, in their excitement, paid no heed to his note of warning. Chase and catch it alive if possible, cried Sita to her husband. Lakshmana, look after Sita. I shall see what I can do with this eluding deer, shouted Rama and ran after it. Thus parted he with Sita and chased the phantom, not knowing that he was not to see her again, mainly for, for a couple of months. The strange and bedecked deer moved on its fantastic way. Now it lingered, now it lingered, now it darted hither and thither. Now it was near at hand, now again far away. It dodged and drew Rama far, far away from his forest home. Fed up with the following the deluding deer, Rama aimed his unfailing arrow at the animal. It vanished. In its stead, Maricha fell dead, and after crying, Ah Sita, Ah Lakshmana, that voice was the simulation of Rama's very voice. indicating thereby that Rama was in agony and he cried aloud for help. So Maricha had this Mayavi Shakti where he could reproduce the same voice, sound of Rama so that Lakshmana and Sita could be misled that Rama was in trouble. That alarm cry for help reached the anxious ears of Sita. She at once alerted Lakshmana and persuaded him to run to help his brother. Lakshmana was reluctant, but Sita said, "No, your brother is in trouble. You have to immediately go and protect and save and bring back your brother." But Lakshmana stood firm, obeying the command of his brother. "Sita, you son of Sumitra, you have come to the forest posing as the friend of my husband. But when he is in danger, you seem to welcome it. Do you want your brother to die? And have you any design on me?" Lakshmana closed his ears with his hands and pleaded, "O mother, please be calm. None in the world is strong enough to attack Rama. He will return safe. The voice we heard is not that of my brother. It is the trick of some Rakshasa." Lakshmana knew it. "My brother has posted me here to look after you. I am to obey him." Sita further seated in sorrow and anger. "Rama is perishing there. You say you stay here in obedience to him? Actually, you wait for his end in order to own me. That will never take place. Hasten to help Rama, or I shall hasten to die before him by jumping into Godavari." Lakshmana, "Way mother, I swear I am innocent. I shall disobey my brother and obey you. I fear some calamity is going to happen to us. This is why the evil thought has entered into your mind. I leave you alone and go. May you be safe. May the gods of the forest protect you. I long to see again with Rama." With a troubled heart, heavy and sorrow and anger, he wended his way into the direction in which Rama was chasing the phantom. No sooner Lakshmana left the ashrama than an ascetic made his appearance there chanting Vedas. He was draped in saffron as a Brahman, as a sage. A staff and a wooden bowl in his possession indicated he was a holy mendicant. Sita received him with reverence due to his rank and offered him fruits and roots. That was the culture in those era, in those yuga, where the holy men, holy sages were revered and they were welcomed and their requirements were catered by princely kings and queens. Here, though Sita was in exile, she was the future queen of Ayodhya. She was wife of Rama. She welcomed the sage and tried to help him out as per the requirement he set in. The visitor defined the physical beauty of Sita, transgressing the bounds of a holy man. But the woman did not, in her innocence, suspect him. He asked why she was all alone in that doomed, demon infested, dangerous region. The guileless Sita felt nothing should be hidden from a holy man and recounted all the particulars about herself, her husband, and his brother. She further added that it was if the holy man tarried, her husband would return and pay him greater homage. The seeming holy man, loth to be long in that garb, now came out in his true colors. He introduced as king of Lanka, the land of plenty and luxury. He advised Sita to abandon the fugitive Rama, the hardship of the forest life, and to accept the hands of all powerful monarch of Lanka together with all the enjoyments and luxuries in life. Ravana's calculation was that, like any other ordinary woman, Sita could be tempted with pleasure, power, pomp, and untold wealth. And the best way to disgrace Rama was to induce Sita elope with him. The erstwhile meek Sita now flared up like a lioness. "I am ever Rama's." Do you hear me, Ravana? "I am ever Rama's. By directing your thought on me, you have paved the way for self destruction. Wretch that you are, flee from here before Rama comes and takes your life." Ravana thought that where temptation failed, threat might succeed. He spoke sternly and significantly. The celestials tremble before Ravana, the ten headed. The wind dares not blow on me. The sun subdues his scorching rays in my presence. Rivers suspend their flow. The forest foliage waves not when I come. Rama is a puny creature. Reject him as a scoff and join me, lest you suffer untold misery. The frail woman would not be frightened by all these extraordinary powers. She stood adamant. Ravana assumed his gigantic form, lifted Sita, placed her in his flying chariot, and took off. Before this, there was also the incident where she crossed the Lakshman Rekha, which was drawn by Lakshmana to ensure that no one could cross that Lakshman Rekha and go inside the hermitage. At the same time, Sita also won't come out of that particular Lakshman Rekha. But Sita, being a very good woman, and as per the request of Ravana, who dressed up as sage and asked for Bhiksha, she came with a plate full of food and tried to give it to Ravana by crossing the Lakshman Rekha. That's the mistake which she did, and then she had to pay for that. She raised alarm, cried, and called out to Rama and to Lakshmana in quick succession and help for protection. But they were too far away to hear her. Timely help from them was out of question. She appealed to the trees and to the beings in the forest to bear witness to the fate that had befallen her. She implored them to tell Rama how she had been stolen away by Ravana. Jatayu, an aged vulture king, was living a life of retirement in that locality. He was once the friend of the late king Dashratha. Some time back, he had introduced himself as such to Rama and offered to be of any little service to him. This Jatayu, half awake, vaguely heard the wailing of Sita and alerted himself. Finding that Ravana, the valiant, was stealing her away in his wand, he pounced and arrested the flight. A terrible tussle ensued in which Jatayu was ultimately maimed fatally. His wings were cut off. The helpless Sita in tears prayed to him to see that the tragedy was communicated to Rama. As she was being conveyed southward, she saw five monkeys seated on a rock intently gazing at the sight up in the air. She dropped her yellow scarf and few jewels, hoping that they might be taken to Rama. Devas in heaven looked at this event on earth and exclaimed, "Now Ravana's days are numbered." He carried Sita as a symbol of his own death and reached his place in Lanka. Vinashakale Viprita Buddhi. That is what Ravana had done. His time was getting nearby, his death was coming nearby. Ravana took Sita round his magnificent palace and his exquisite pleasure gardens. He displayed his incalculable treasures of gold, silver, gems, and ornaments. He who never bent his head before the woman now touched the feet of Sita with his 10 heads and implored that she and his vast empire might be accepted by her. Sita was blind to the opulent wealth and deal to the tempting flattery. Ravana gave her the time to reconcile and order a group of demonesses to keep her captive in the Ashoka Grove, Ashok Vatika. They were to adopt all possible means, fair and foul, to win her over to Ravana. Just in a few hours, this was the plight in which circumstances has placed Sita. So a small mistake of Sita Devi ended up with a big tragedy. Of course, Bhagwan Ram will ensure Devi Sita will be protected and will be brought back. But then he has to kill the arrogant ego of Ravana. We will further try to narrate this in future days. Once again, if God willing, we'll be coming back tomorrow and narrate further story. Jai Shri Ram.